Hi, mystery writers. Wow. Okay, today we're going to talk about limited third person point of view and whether it's right for your novel. Um, it's like a view from the edge because the limited means we're with that one character. It's not omniscient. We don't see everything. And um, so it gives you a lot of flexibility, but it also engages the reader. Um, uh, it tells the mystery to your readers, limited third person point of view, and allows readers to know what the character thinks and experiences without going directly into their head. So you limit the perspective to one person's point of view. Ursula Le Guin gives a great description of third-person limited point of view in her writing manual, uh, Steering the Craft, which I also recommend Steering the Craft. All right. Only what the viewpoint character knows, feels, perceives, thinks, guesses, hopes, remembers, etc. can be told. The reader can infer what other people feel and think only from what the viewpoint character observes of their behavior. Okay, that's the end of the quote. But I think it's a great description and it illustrates why third person point of view works so well in mysteries, because our detective is the character who leads the reader through solving the puzzle. And so if our detective misses something, that detective won't know that they missed that clue or the undertones of what a suspect says, um, and it's going to lead them into trouble. And we have to create a lot of trouble for our character as the story progresses. So I personally think it's a great vehicle for mystery writers. The third person limited point of view creates an intimacy between readers and the characters. And even though the story is not in the first person, as a writer, you can reveal thoughts and responses that allow readers to sense and feel what that character does. Um, just as a side note, using different scenes, you can tell the story from the point of view of characters other than your protagonist sleuth, and many mystery and suspense writers alternate between, for example, the protagonist and the antagonist, and a lot of psychological mysteries, like P.D. James, Elizabeth George, even Anne Cleeves, um, have third person point of view for each of the suspects. Um, So it is a versatile point of view to use. But I've got to slow my head down so I can talk. Um, what I think is really important for mystery writers using third person point of view is you creating uncertainty. Uh, because the story is told from a limited point of view, the emotions, the secrets, and the backstory of secondary characters, especially the suspects, remain uncertain. It's only that character's interpretation of what's going on. So you challenge your sleuth to dig deeper to discover motivations and actions these characters keep hidden. And your sleuth's challenge is to peel back those layers of understanding to solve the puzzle. And when you're telling the story from the third person limited point of view, what the reader gets is only what that character says. only what that character knows, only what that character feels, only what that character observes. So if they miss something as you're telling the story, the reader has to wait for that character to discover that they actually missed something earlier in the story. So one of the things this does is it builds tension in the story. When the character has limited knowledge, so does your reader, all right? Your character is leading your reader through the mystery, and your reader is trapped in the head of that character. And as you keep secrets from your sleuth, you build tension for the reader. And of course, page turning is the key to keeping readers involved. So as your protagonist sleuth encounters challenges, your reader follows along, expectant for the next discovery. And good mystery writing involves keeping your character and your reader in suspense. So, reader comprehension evolves. As the mystery progresses, your reader's perspective on characters and situations evolves as your character discovers more. All right. This evolution of understanding is exactly what mystery readers want. Mystery starts as this blank, we know nothing, and all these bits and pieces come together to help your sleuth solve the puzzle. Because your reader sees what the character sees, they are tied to the discovery path of your mystery. In other words, they need to keep following your character in order to discover how that mystery is solved. Um, just a little side note here, and I've talked about this before, the more you get your reader to care about the character, the more invested they'll be in following that character through solving that puzzle. The most challenging um, aspect of third person limited, especially for beginning writers, is the temptation to head hop. We're having a lively discussion in the Write a Killer Mystery private group for the students, where we're talking about point of view and head hopping, and is it really necessary to learn this one person's um, story, which is told in the first person, while the rest of the story is told in the third person. Um, anyway, so head hopping, and that means changing character heads within a scene. So you're halfway into the scene, and your reader is with the sleuth, and all of a sudden they're over here and they start to know what's going on with the other character in the scene, and that's just a no-no. So don't do it. Always stick with the point of view character. um, Looking at my notes here to see if there's anything else I'm going to say. So if you go outside the point of view of the protagonist, you need to use separate scenes to illuminate another character's point of view. And then also that follows up with, you're going to write the other person's point of view in the third person limited as well, which I highly recommend. Um, Sometimes it works to write the antagonist's point of view, the actual villain's point of view, in the first person, because we're keeping that villain hidden until the end when the detective solves the mystery. You really want to limit the number of characters you use to narrate your story, and staying with your sleuth is a really great way to do that. Um, You really want to choose wisely if you're going to let your reader inside other characters' heads. The point of the mystery is to create a puzzle for your reader, and too many viewpoints can muddy the water. Just a footnote to that: if you're writing sort of psychological mystery like a P.D. James or Elizabeth George, Anne Cleves, and they go into the heads of each of the suspects, and they do it in third person limited. So you still get a limited view even though it's that suspect's view. So that's a lot of work, and it's very challenging for first time mystery writers. All right. So as a matter of fact, I tried a few years ago with a story. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to write first person or third person. And I thought I wanted to write it first person because I really liked this character and I wanted to get in his head and da da da. So I wrote in the first person. I wrote a chapter in the first person, and then I wrote it in the third person. You might, if you're trying to decide on point of view, I suggest doing this exercise because you're going to discover your personal comfort level in writing in either of those point of view voices. Um, as I thought about how the story would unfold, I realized that third person limited would work better for that particular mystery. Um, okay, so if you're wondering which is better for you, just try writing in first person and third person and see how it feels for you as a writer to enliven those voices. Um, um, Third person limited point of view is the standard storytelling device in popular fiction. It is the most popular point of view. So you can use this point of view to your advantage as you create a mystery trail for your sleuth. And I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what you were doing. Are you doing first person, third person limited, third person omniscient, which which is when the author knows everything and they kind of forewarn the reader. It's a very 19th century point of view. We don't see it that much in current fiction. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts about third person point of view, and thanks for being in the Mystery Writers Studio, and I'll see you next week.